Hello YouTube, Elite Legionarii here, bringing you a 3 vs 3 for Medieval 2 Total War. And this is a 3 vs, perhaps one of the best 3 vs 3s I've ever played. It was an extremely good game. I'm in command of Russia, using a Rush army, similar to the ones I've seen Vladik use. I'm just going to pause actually. The SwedishLandskekt is playing as the Holy Roman Empire. With a fairly rushy style army. There's a few missile units here, but it's not complete rush. And out here is ForsakenTemplar13. He's in command of Spain. He's just joining to link up with us at this stage. My opponents are Venice under Edodo. I don't know how to say that, but Edo. Is that how you say it? I don't know. He's Venice. Portuguese player is Gary 2030, and the French player is BIAT, or a whole lot of numbers and letters, basically one of those ones. So my army consists of the only missile units are 2 arquebusiers. The idea here is just to get 1 or 2 volleys off just to shock morale so that my rush is more effective, just to help the Russian infantry, because Russian infantry, while it's decent, got armor piercing, which is great, statistically they're not as great as some of the other units they'll be facing. I have 2 peasants meet shielding. Up front I have 5 units of dismounted boyar sons, and it was 4 units of British Axemen, and of course the real killing power of this army is my 5 Stars Guard, which is essential to a successful Russian rush, basically. The Holy Roman Empire by SwedishLandskekt is 3 units of Landskekt. Oh, that's great. He's actually using his namesake here. So 3 Landskekt up front. He's got, let's see, I think it's about 4 or 5 dismounted feudal. Oh, wait a minute. It's dismounted imperial. Is it 2 dismounted imperial knights, and I think it might be 3 dismounted feudal knights. Then he's got 1, 2, 3. 2 Teutonic knights. 1 Gothic knight there. It might be. Is it 1 or 2? So this is Zweihander in the back here, I can see. It's a bit jumbled there. General's Bodyguard, the Gothic Knight, the 2 Teutonic Knights, I think. And let's see. He's got 2 Raiters over here, that's right. They were very handy. This is a great unit, one of my favourite units. Pistol-armed German gunmen mounted. And then the Holy Roman, the Spanish player, he's 1, 2, 3 units of tercio pikes, 4 units of tercio pikes, 4 dismounted conquistadors. Let's see, this is whoa, is it something over here in the woods? What are they? Mounted crossbowmen. And he's got a conquistador there, 3 mounted conquistadors, and a 4th one actually, I think, right there. General's Bodyguard, and I think it was about 4 or 5 musketeers. His opponents has, let's see, 2 Venetian archers, 3 pike militia, and the 4th pike militia over there, 5th pike militia right over there, 1 armoured sergeant, 2 Venetian heavy infantry, and a mixed mash of knights hospitalers and some dismounted feudal knights, from what I can see. The Portuguese player, 4 units of Portuguese knights, I think. Yep. Then let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dismounted conquistadors, and 4 pike militia. Frank's got 4 musketeers, and my opponent has got 4 Aventuriers, and I think 4 Scots Guards, very missile heavy army, and then I think it was 5 units of pikemen, 2 dismounted noble knights, I think, yep, 2 dismounted noble knights, and 1, 2, 3 French Hussars, 4 knights hospitaller and 1 mounted French mounted archer, and a General's Bodyguard. So this would be an intriguing battle. So it was a really great battle, but anyway, we just flat out rush, and this was really late when we're doing this, and to be honest, I was just sort of thinking when I was doing it, I was going to rush, just don't really have much of a battle plan other than rushing, and do as much damage as I can. I wasn't to the extent that I normally were trying to win. I was just playing, and as a result, I ended up playing really well, because I was just sort of playing for fun and not really playing to win so much, just sort of mucking around, because I had to go to bed pretty much right after I did this battle. But because of the fact that I was playing it that way, I ended up doing really well. Sometimes when you just sort of play and don't worry about winning so much, you just sort of have a general strategy and you just sort of think, right, let's just go with it and play it like that, you often do quite well. So anyway, he charges me here, but my meat shield should take most of the brunt of that charge, although some of my boy ass took a few blows there. However, he'll lose quite a bit of his nice hospitality as well. And that, so that was the point of the meat shield. That's why I use a meat shield, because sometimes people try that little charge and it does a lot of damage to your infantry, but if you've got peasants to take the charge, they don't get it. So here I see my Sarsgaard to take on his Knight's Hospitality. They'll absolutely wreck them. Sarsgaard are perhaps one of the best melee cavalry in the game. In fact, I would probably say Sarsgaard are the best melee cavalry in the game. Even though they don't use a mace, they do so well in the melee, it's not funny. So as you can see already, lots of his cavalry are taking huge losses and are going to be breaking very soon. I charge his Aventurier here before it can withdraw them, and they'll get pretty thrashed by my infantry. And I'm sending my British Axemen around the flank because they're two-handers and they're best used in a flanking role. As you can see though, my Sarsgaard come out of that fight with perhaps no more than, I don't know, like 4 to 5 losses each as they destroy those Hospitallers. So they're a fantastic cav unit. Let's see over here, the SwedishLandskekt engages his rush. Did take quite a lot of damage to muskets, but he's doing pretty well here. Although his Landsknekts have unfortunately not held their pike wall, which is pretty expected, as pikes don't really hold their wall for long. But he'd probably start to lose this fight simply because he's getting outflanked here and because his enemy's infantry is quite a bit better than his own. However, I'm pretty decisively destroying my opponent. As you can see, he can't really implement his Aventurier. They're a very good crossbow unit, and they'll hold out for quite a while. He puts his pikemen in here. I moved my Arquebusiers to flank shot. Now I'm getting my cavalry right in behind him, outflank him. As you can see, I got my British Axemen into the side of his guys here, and that's destroying them really badly. Basically what I decide to do here is to actually ignore my opponent, because I know I can deal with him with my missile units, and go and quickly help SwedishLandskekt. As you can see, the Venetian player is rushing over here because the Spanish player came to our side. It's what we directed him to do. ForsakenTemplar13 on my Steam list. He's a nice guy. So here I begin doing some charges into the back of his men. Now they don't use they use just a little space, so they're not hugely great charging cav, but they're absolutely excellent melee cav. So Sarsgaard are some of the best cav in the game. You'll find that Sarsgaard very rarely lose any melee fight unless there's other circumstances interfering with the fight, because they almost always win it, like 90% of the time, unless there's other circumstances interfering. As you can see, a lot of Swedes units start to rout here because he's just getting basically outclassed by these conquistadors. He took a lot of musket fire, which would have reduced his morale quite a bit, so that's why his men routed so quickly. However, he does a lot of damage with his raiders anyway. So over here, one of my this side goes a bit skew on me, but I'm easily winning this side of the fight. As you can see, my British Axemen had them outflanked. Plus I got guns right in the flank there. I'm moving them to get flank fire from above. While I'm doing this, I'm trying to just cause a bit of damage to the Portuguese player. But remember, Sarsgaard are not spectacular charges, so they're not going to dish out tons of damage on the charge, but they'll do well in a melee, like I just said. It does quite a bit of damage, and he does lose quite a lot of men just to charging there. So let's have a look here. These conquistadors from ForsakenTemplar are outrunning and trying to get hits on a lot of these cav here. However, he does get struck. His conquistador gets struck in the side by this Knight's Hospitaller, and that is really bad for them because they'll take a lot of losses as they did. You never want to let that happen if you can help it. Of course, as I say all the time, try and get your heavy cav to be running charges against heavy infantry, because that's where they do the most damage, and they should win your battles that way. As you can see, my British Axemen are doing really well. I really like the British Axemen. I like their weapon. It's quite cool. So as you can see, my rush is pretty much just disrupted, and I've ignored a lot of the pike line, just gone around the flank. Using my guys here, I didn't spot this, so I charged kind of into some pikes, which is a really bad thing. You should never do this. I didn't spot it, actually. That was a bit of a real sloppy micro work. Because so many of my guys are over here now, helping out the Spanish player. and coming around over here. So I'm just swamping what's left of these guys. A big missile skirmish army, so I kind of played my strengths here, using my cav to rush it, which was always the plan anyway. Let's have a look. These conquistadors here are running some disruption on the Venetian player. A lot of these guys, though, neither of these two are really particularly organised, trying to get musket fire off and stuff like that. It's not always easy when you got jumbled terrain. However, this is called the Black Forest, this map, and I always quite often think, oh, it's a forested map, but it's not really a forested map. The name is very misleading. There's a bit of forest on one side, but it's pretty thin forest. It's not much of it. It's great open plains. I love this map, in fact, but I often think, because this is Black Forest, it's a big thick forest, because I hate forested maps on Medieval 2 because they're so hard to work in, because they're so dense. But I completely forgot about this one being quite misleading. So in this fight, my infantry gets quickly destroyed by these conquistadors, simply because conquistadors are so much more powerful than Russian infantry. However, I get some pretty good charges here, which should help quite a bit. And of course, Tar's guys are really good in the melee. His guys are taken shaken, mostly because they're being shot by these raiders, which is good. I don't want to hang around that fight too long, so just repeat my charges and let the raiders keep getting shots in. I'm trying to do what damage I can here, because the French and Portuguese players are ganged up on me at this stage, or what's left of me. So let's check over here. A lot of these conquistadors are now engaging over here, or starting to. Where's the rest of them? Swedes has all of his puppies crossbowmen, though he's withdrawn them and they've come to assist over here. Now these musketeers need to be moving up and behind the Venetian player, basically, if possible. He needs to be trying to do that, because otherwise he'll shoot his own men. I see a lot of people when they use muskets, they don't really know how to, particularly if they get rushed and they have to rush their muskets behind, they don't know how to use them. They just sit there and start shooting at everything, and they often shoot up their own men. So that's not always a good thing on their part. So my Sars Guard is still going, pretty knackered by now though, but they're doing quite a lot of damage. They're always a fantastic unit. I would go so far as to call them the best melee cav in the game, to be honest. They've got very high stats, even though they don't have a mace like some of the other units that do have them. They seem, at least in my experience, they seem to always do better than them anyway. So, and they're one of the reasons why Russia is such a dangerous faction. I put Russia in the top 5. I'll probably put Russia in at about 4th. Their infantry are not great, but their missiles are good, and their cav is very good. So, particularly the Sars Guard, but the Drazen is pretty decent as well. Their infantry is deceptive because it's not got very high stats, and its Devor, for instance, has actually got just as good stats as infantry, but they use an armor-piercing axe, so they do armor-piercing damage, so they actually halve the enemy's defense, so it's a deceptive unit. A lot of people will say they're crap infantry, but I don't agree. I call them at least average to decent, based upon those things. So these conquistadors are now dueling away with a lot of these Venetian pikes along the line here. I don't think the Venetian player had very many Venetian heavy infantry, if any at all. Here's some here, because these two are really even, conquistadors and Venetian heavy infantry. You can generally the conquistadors should win, but because they've got that armor-piercing hammer, and if they get a good charge, the Venetian heavy infantry can defeat the conquistador from time to time. So it's definitely the second best unit in the game, if not kind of just a smidgen behind the conquistador, I find. So anyway, there's most of the French and Portuguese players are still kind of just being irritated with their pikes. We don't really have a lot to deal with it, but we're just doing whatever charges and things we can with what little we have left. And most of the fights over here now. This was a really great 3v3 though. Like, as I said at the start, we weren't, like me particularly, and I don't think Swedes was doing it either, we weren't really trying. Like, what I mean is we were trying to win the fight, of course, but we didn't really have this big scheme, battle plan. I just thought, gonna rush, get a volley off with Mark Bezier and just go from there, because I was really getting pretty tired at the time, to be honest, because it was getting really late. And I knew I had to get to bed, but sometimes when you just sort of play without the hassle of getting really involved and wanting to win and stuff, you often play better just because you're playing for fun. There's my general dead. I don't think I got trying to do too much damage here. I suspect these raiders are going to have a lot of kills, and if they don't, they've done caused a lot of routes. So as you can see, the Venetian player is pretty much out. It's 72% of us dead, 92% of them, so it's pretty much in our favour. My army's pretty much dead. Swedes has lost a good portion of his own, but at this stage they're pretty much dead. There's a couple of units over here that I've not yet routed, and a few Venetian ones. So I might just go to double speed here. Let's see. So Swede's just using his general's bodyguards to wrap up what he can here. He took his fire arrows there, I think. Or these Venetian heavy infantry, I didn't even realise they'd gotten this far over on the battlefield. Yeah, but as you can see, most of them are just routing completely. And yeah, there's not really much left happening. We just have to kind of chase a few units down, so I'm just going to triple speed here towards the end, because we're just chasing routers basically. I do believe that towards about this time in the fight I had to drop Portuguese, the French player, because he lagged the game out, but it was already over anyway, so it didn't really matter. So as we can see, we're just picking off the routers at this stage, and there was just these two conquistadors over here. We just couldn't find them for a while, so battle would have already ended by now. We just had to go find these conquistadors that had stopped routing. So eventually we did find them, and Swedes and Templar will go and deal with them. As you can see, they're about to come in, and that looks epic in fast motion. And look at that, they're too brave, they don't even turn their back to face them. And bang. And that's basically the end of it. So it was a really great game, and all I can say is you have to be very wary of Russian rush armies, because they are extremely dangerous, particularly the Sars Guard if they're handled properly. And I'm not great at them, but I know how to do it. But you've heard me mention Vladik before. I've seen him with them. Man, he's deadly with them. Like, he's super deadly with them. But it works really well if you pull it off right. So I had 1,031 kills, 140 captures, so that's, what's all that, 1,171 altogether. SwedishLandskekt had 1,230 enemies killed plus 88, so he's just over 1,300. And ForsakenTemplar had 511 and 266 enemies killed. The Venetian player 662 with 95 captures, Portugal 516 with 74 captures, and the highest on their team was the French player with 823 and 48 captures. So if I look at my SARS guard, look at that, 113, 105, 17. These two took a wee bit more losses, 46 and 36, but 136. So they did pretty much all the work. Quite a few captures for some of them as well, like 43 for this one. So that's the point. That's always the power of this kind of build. However, these dismounted Boyer sons got quite a lot of kills, as did the British Axemen, which is surprising because a lot of the Russian infantry doesn't always do great. It just sort of helps support the role of the cavalry. Marky BZ didn't really get that much damage in, but I'm sure they helped reduce morale, which is what I wanted them to do. So this is one of the most fun 3v3s I've done in a long time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a great game to the SwedishLandskekt and ForsakenTemplar13. I don't know, I think that's how you say that. Gary 2030 and the lots of letters and numbers guy. Thanks for playing, hope you enjoyed this, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see you soon next time.